Petri Wine brings you the Casebook of
M.L. Aldrich.
Tonight, the Petri family, the family that took time to bring you good wine, invite you to listen to the story of The Eloquent Corpse. Another exciting adventure from the Casebook of
M.L. Aldrich.
But before we get started, I'd like to tell you about one swell dessert. Chilled fruit with Petri California Muscatel wine. It's really wonderful and so easy to fix. Just put chilled fruits in a dish and pour chilled Petri Muscatel wine over them. That's all there is to it. And is it good? You just couldn't ask for anything better than
M.L. Soul of Detroit.
You asked it around, get the question around my food. It's gone.
What are you doing? Come on.
That is not paid for by them. That is paid for by the people of Detroit.
You might be qualified, ML.
I'm not qualified for this job.
Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay? You want to go right now?
Hey, kids, it's your very sweaty friend, M.L. Aldrich, coming, thankfully, from a cool basement that we were barred from because some upstart podcast, some guy named Andrew Aldrich was in here farting around.
What a jerk.
Yeah, and the hell's he ever done?
Hey, at least he recorded early to get out of our way, right?
Yeah, I'm so sick of this guy, It's like, this is Spinal Tap. Get the puppet show off the stage.
How are you?
Although I think...
You seem very hurried today or rushed.
I think when I remember the movie, it was Spinal Tap and Puppet Show. Puppet Show was the main event, so maybe Andrew got it right. No, it's been a crazy day. I got up early, went out to see if we could find someone where they're not supposed to be. It was raining like nobody's business, and took the long drive out into the country in the Riviera, which is a great way to travel, except on a hot, rainy day because the air conditioning doesn't work. So,
oh no!
So that was a tough start.
And why doesn't the air work? Because the car's so old.
There's something that needs to be done with the temperature control module, which in 1985 it was very, very advanced, and they only put them in the 1985 module. This particular module, the 1985 model, which means if you're trying to find one 40 years later, they're very hard to find. And until you can get that in there, I got the module, the temperature control head, I think it is. But then there's something it needs to go into that I found out once I got the first part that I need the second part.
This is when I would. This is about the time I'd just buy a new car. Sounds like a lot.
Yeah. Well, this is my most recent vehicle purchase. This is the new car. But yeah. So until we get that all squared away, there's no point in really fiddling around with the AC. So. Yeah, but I will tell you, when you drive those old cars, when you drive a new car and you roll the window down, you get that sort of...
Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah, unless you have all the windows down, you get this weird thing.
The kids always roll down the window and it does that. I'm like, roll it up, my ears are going to explode.
Yeah, no, it feels like you're coming up too fast from that sub that was looking for the Titanic.
The Titan submersible, yeah.
Right, but in this car, when the windows are down, it's great. And unless the air isn't moving, it's way nicer to have the windows down than it is to have the AC on.
Did you get the person you were looking for? Or is that a spoiler alert that shouldn't be talked about?
We did connect with them.
Okay.
And there may be something about this in this Sunday's Detroit Free Press.
Excellent.
It will probably be subscriber only. I have to warn you guys, including Andrew Aldrich, that it is $1 to subscribe for like 6 months. So that's maybe 18 cents a month. All you people who have Netflix and Peacock and Hulu who are bitching about paying $1 to subscribe to the Free Press for 6 months. I mean, come on. Give me a break.
We never talked about your story last week. I thought that was a really good story. Was it the treasurer of Shelby Township?
Oh, the Shelby Township treasurer. Yeah, who was named in a lawsuit in which his former company, was sued by two young women who worked there and said that he had sexually harassed them. He says that those claims are not true, and that since he wasn't named in the lawsuit, he didn't really know about it and couldn't defend himself.
Was he surprised that you knew about the story or that you called him?
I would just say that if somebody called me out of the blue and said, hey, did you know two young women accused you of sexually harassing them? His response was a lot calmer than mine would have been. Now, I've since been told by somebody who also ran for treasurer in Shelby Township that they took this lawsuit to the entire board of trustees, which the treasurer serves on, and said, hey, do you guys know about this lawsuit? I don't know whether that's true or not, but somebody claims that they told everybody on the board about it, and that might explain why the treasurer had such a nonchalant response about it. Don't get me wrong, he wasn't happy that I was asking about this, and he wasn't happy that this was going to be put in the public domain a few months before an election. But in terms of the, sort of the expected response of, oh my God, that's outrageous. That's not true. Who could say such a thing? I feel terrible. This is awful. My family is going to be scandalized. I need, please, think about my children, all that other crap. There was nothing like that. So that was a little unusual, but you know what? People react in different ways. So the people we went to go see today were not home, but they had a Ring doorbell, which means everybody's kind of home. And when I said, hey, I'm ML Elric from the Detroit Free Press, got some questions, the person who answered just like, hey, man, how's it going? Very courteous,
Really?
Very gracious, very calm. We're not there. We don't really live there, but what can I do for you?
Is that why you were there? Because you want to know if somebody really lives somewhere? You've done that before.
Yes, because we're trying to figure out what's going on here. Did you cheat on your taxes or did you commit voter fraud? And we have gotten some answers, and I expect to share those answers with people on Sunday, Labor Day weekend, in the Detroit Free Press. So before you go to the beach, that newspaper is also very good for keeping the sun off. So maybe you want to drop a few shekels to pick up a copy. It's been a newsy week. Obviously, the Connor Stalions documentary has come out. Kwame Kilpatrick was back in town. I was in court last Friday with two of the people who raised a lot of money for Lee Chatfield, finding out about how they did that and where some of the money went. In fact, I'll just tell you, if you want to talk more about it, we can jump into it in a few minutes. But I'll just tell you, the prosecutors, when they laid out the case, described Scheme 1, Scheme 2, Scheme 3, Scheme 4, Scheme 5, and each of these schemes had Sub A, Sub B, Sub C, and basically involved billing people for goods and services, getting money for those goods and services, but the billing and the services might not have always added up, and whatever was left over kind of ended up in their bank account. Now, they, of course, say they did nothing wrong, but the Michigan Attorney General thinks that they were running a racket and running a criminal enterprise. Yeah. So that was a pretty interesting Friday afternoon. Unfortunately, it came after a late night of hockey and a couple beers in the parking lot. So by the time they got to their wrap-up, it was about 4 o'clock. It was hot. I'd been traveling. I'd been listening to a lot of boring stuff before the good stuff. And so I might have nodded off a couple times briefly in the courtroom, and luckily...
Well, yeah, I was going to say, you'd be glad you're not in that one judge's courtroom, or else he would have cuffed you.
Kenneth King.
Yeah.
I've been held in contempt. I would have been put in a jumpsuit and had my peers judge me as to whether or not I was should be locked up.
Yeah, and there is a follow-up story.
Speaking of judgy peers, I think Shawn is going to be joining us in a minute.
I think he's there right now. Shawn?
Hey, are we live? Are we recording? Or are we just BSing?
This is live to tape.
Yeah. We were sick of waiting for you.
Not that it matters. I mean, what we all say ahead of time in that lovely studio is what we say on the podcast. So what you hear is what you get. What you see is what you get. Right, Mikey?
Sometimes the pregame is better than the game. It's like when Michigan played Michigan State and Devin Bush was almost clotheslined, almost killed. That was the best the Spartan defense played the whole day.
I think his health was more at danger then than last year's Spartan team, because Michigan knew the signals before the game. Remember, they were so concerned about their health.
Yeah, well, I think they were more concerned about
a joke.
Some of the prostate mitigation.
You say you don't care, Mark, but you really do, because you defend the tainted championship. Unsolicited.
It's not
of course
tainted.
It's tainted.
Why is it tainted?
Because they cheated and broke the rules, and it's tainted. And it's how the rest of the country...
One guy broke one rule.
It's how look. You can sound like a supporter of a politician all you want, but the fact is, the rest of the country. That's how in college football anyway. Sure. That's how they see it. That's how they see it. Now you can choose not to care about that, but that championship your school won last year will always be thought of as having an asterisk because there was some cheating going on.
Shawn's on a roll. Okay. I'm not gonna get in the way.
I mean, they didn't, but okay.
I'm not gonna get in the way.
No. I mean, I'm curious, and I know that's probably not what you're talking about. And it must be frustrating as a Michigan fan, right? Because you're right. What they did,
one bit. It really is not one bit frustrating at all. And I'll tell you why. The reason it's not frustrating is because what happened after he resigned his position with the university, and they went on to keep winning. And the fact that people want to act like it's tainted, it's like, look at all the talent that was on that team. I mean, it's not like that team wasn't talented.
Some of which was recruited illegally, we're now finding. So. Yeah.
I mean,
everything's got an asterisk. You guys are breaking the recruiting rules. You're cheating.
Who on that team was recruited illegally?
I don't know because Jim Harbaugh isn't really talking about it, but the NCAA has said.
If you're talking about the cheeseburger incident, those guys didn't come here. They never committed to Michigan. So
didn't they get that cheeseburger at that restaurant Shawn really liked?
I don't know if it was that particular restaurant.
Wasn't the one that closed?
Marc, you're right in terms of football, but you know this better than anybody. You're so good at this. It's part of what makes your show, your full-time job show, your regular show during the week so good, is that you understand how people view things and the perspective of things and the way people make associations. And nobody's going to remember that the last several games were played after the Stalions was gone and after the changes was made. They're not going to remember that 13, 14 players were drafted one year, and several more are going to be drafted this year that also played on that team. They're not going to remember that. They're just going to remember that they broke NCAA rules and that there was a sign stealer on the sideline. And that's it's too bad for you, I understand, but that's how this works. You know that. You know that's how this works. Nobody's going to get in the muck and say, well, oh my God, did you see the first round, second round, third round picks? They had all this talent. Harbaugh's a great coach. Yeah, that's all true. But Michigan fans will do that. But the rest of the casual fans are going to say, "Oh yeah, that's the school that cheated to get the title."
Well, it's called nuance, really, and that's what you're seeing on a lot of Twitter today. A lot of Ohio State fans keep sharing the clip of Connor Stalions getting the game ball in 2022 against Iowa, a game that they won handedly. They were like 20-0. Before finally winning 27-10 or whatever.
And that was one of Iowa's best offensive performances of the whole season because they had
2022. Yeah, no, you're right.
It's terrible.
That's pretty. But a lot of people keep pointing that like, oh, Harbaugh didn't know who he was. And it's like, well, it's not about sign stealing. It's about advanced in-game scouting. That is the rule that is broken. But you're right, Shawn. Nobody cares about that nuance.
In Ann Arbor,
Harbaugh never said that he didn't know him. It's this whole racket of filming people and then breaking down the film. And Connor Stalions, to me, is a total nut job. I mean, the guy is insane. His love for Michigan because his mom went there. I mean, he went to the Naval Academy just to become the head coach at Michigan, and that's where other coaches went, not to serve the country or participate with the Naval Academy, which is a pretty remarkable thing. He's not dumb. The guy is not dumb, but he's a little different. And so I think it's very plausible that he did this all so he could look like this ultimate sign stealer, because there's a big part of the documentary when he gets into it that he didn't know there was this whole kind of underground belly of college football where people share information like that. He broke the rule. The question is, who else knew? And right now, there's no evidence. The NCAA said that there's no evidence that Harbaugh knew that that's how he was doing it.
The fact that he disgraced the university he loves and that he was dismissed from or quit from.
But people in the university don't think he disgraced the university.
But just let me finish the thought. The fact that he did all those things and continues to come around, continues to go to the games, continues to come on the field, and then agrees to participate in some sort of documentary about it tells you that he's unlike most other people, because most people get caught up in something like that, say, I got nothing to say about it. Talk to my lawyer. I don't want to, I'm in deeper than I thought. I didn't know it was going to go this far.
You're right. And
he loves the attention. He is an attention whore.
Sure. I would not disagree with that, and he seems like the kind of guy that would love the attention for putting together all this great sign stealing information.
What did you say? What did Mike? How did you pronounce that? Did you say hooer or did you say whore?
Whore, somewhere in between.
Okay.
In fact, he is kind of the Richard Jewell of Michigan's national championship, except Richard Jewell didn't do it. Connor Stalions did. And by the way,
did he? What's the evidence?
Central Michigan University. Well, I think Central Michigan University had him on the sideline. There's video evidence of that.
Well, then that taints Central then.
I can't wait for Central to get to the bottom of this. What has it been, like a year now?
That is easily, and I'm sure you guys have seen this clip because that clip's floating around. That is easily the funniest part of the documentary. They present Connor Stalions with a picture of the alleged Connor Stalions on the sideline, and he looks at it and he goes, doesn't look like me. And then they cut to Dave Portnoy, and Portnoy goes, oh yeah, Connor was on the sideline. He told me so. So it's like, well, yeah, I'm sure he was on the sideline.
Oh, geez. Well, that's...
And you're right. He does like attention because he was participating with Barstool and that whole week leading up to Ohio State without saying anything. He never... I mean, this is why this documentary is interesting. It's the first time Stalions has spoke. Right? I mean, he hasn't given an interview to anyone.
No, until he got paid, I assume, right?
Oh, I absolutely would assume he was paid to do the Netflix doc.
But speaking of getting paid, I have to interrupt, gentlemen, because I want to thank everybody who ordered some of our Soul of Detroit gear. There was a technical problem with the manufacturing, so it all got out about a week later than we had hoped. But we did add a little something for your patience. Everybody got, I know this doesn't sound like much, but an ML Soul of Detroit sticker for holding up and waiting for that. If you're watching us on Patreon, you can see I've got the new Columbia blue T-shirt on, which I think is
good color,
is very fetching. And it's
fetching.
It was our summer sale. We will plan to have another one in time for the holidays. So if you missed out, we'll do that again probably in late October, November, so you can get all that stuff in time for Christmas. And Luke Nowacki of Pinnacle Wealth Strategies, who will help you plot a successful course, who will help you. You know, you can't steal these signs. You don't know what they are. He doesn't need to. He knows how to get you on a plan that will help you have a comfortable retirement. Dr. Yalda will help you see better than perfect vision. We'll tell you how a little bit later. The Caju Cafe this weekend. Oh, this is the Muscle Madness Music Festival. Muscle Beach, they call it, because, of course, that's where you can get mussels and other Belgian treats. But this is a Labor Day holiday tradition that is going to be fantastic. And on Labor Day, one of my favorites, Eastside Elvis, is going to be there. Come play Detroit. They're registering for leagues right now. You want to play pickleball, you want to play kickball, you want to play sand volleyball, you want to kick sand in my face and softball. Sign up at Come Play Detroit. If you use promo code SOUL, you'll get a 10% discount. And speaking of discounts, if you ride the Michigan Peddler, use promo code MLSOUL for $40 off your ride for a 15-person pedal pub. And, of course, our most important sponsor, that's you. Those of you who have given us as little as $5 a month, which really helps. Believe it or not, it really helps. We really appreciate it. It helps keep us on the air. In return for that, you get access to our bonus episodes. We'll have a new one posting early next month. You get to watch the show. You get to hear the show before anybody else. And you get to listen to the show without those annoying insertion ads that we put in there because, frankly, we don't make much dough on the show, and they help a little bit out. So we take that. So, okay, sponsors aside, let's get back to the show. I got quoted in the Daily Beast today talking about Kamala Harris and why she should do some interviews. There was a debate over whether or not she should do something with some national media or whether she should do that with some local media types.
She should do any interview. I think it's a huge mistake to hide.
I think it's a mistake to hide. I think it's kind of a manufactured issue that she hasn't done any interviews. But let me tell you, as a reporter, I want people to be accessible all the time. There were people who didn't like Chief Craig when he was running the Detroit Police Department. They called him Hollywood Craig. I never went in for that because I think he did stand up to tough questions more than any Detroit police chief in recent memory. But the other reason why is when he's available to answer questions or to talk about whatever he wants to talk about, then we can hit him with some questions that we want to talk about. And so this reporter for the Daily Beast, the very nice Mary Ann Akers, was talking to me, and I think she thought, because the Free Press is a regional paper, we're not one of the national nameplates, that I would be advocating for Kamala Harris to do an interview with someone at a local media. And I said, no, because we don't necessarily know the issues as well as the national media who cover that exclusively. And I said, I always would hear Kwame Kilpatrick, get the bell ready, it's coming up again later, say that, every time I go out of town and give an interview, these guys are so nice, but you guys are so tough on me. It's like, yes, because we know what you're telling the people in New York and California is a lie. So we hold your feet to the fire. At any rate, Marianne quoted me and the publisher of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, who obviously, with Georgia being a crucial state in the election, is angling for an interview for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution with Harris. He was really pushing for her to do this. And, excuse me, and what I said was that she should just go to whatever nonpartisan news outlet she can, whether it's national, regional. And I said, if you're ready, step in the lion's den. And I said, if she wants to prove that she's ready to be the most powerful person in the world and has nothing to fear, she should give her first interview to the toughest reporter she can find, whether that's from a local news outlet or a national news outlet. Because this thing where you're in trouble and so you give an interview to a soft interviewer, like when Biden was in trouble, he goes to Morning Joe. When Trump's in trouble, he goes to Tucker Carlson or to Shawn Hannity. That doesn't prove anything to anybody.
And there's the problem, though, when she won't do any interview, won't even do one of the friendly ones, people go, oh, well, it's because she can't even do a friendly interview. So why would she ever, do an interview with someone that would hit her with facts and issues and something hard?
Well, she needed to get ready for the convention. She needed to consolidate her hold on the Democratic Party, but now she's done that. And now she's rested.
Serious question. She's still the vice president of the United States. Shouldn't she be able to do an interview with anyone at any time?
Every one of these candidates, if you're running for dog catcher and you can't answer a question from a reporter, you're not ready to do the job, honey baby. Yeah. You have got to get out there and engage, because I guarantee you, whatever I or Shawn or some other reporter is going to ask you, or Jim Costa or whoever it is, in a public setting is going to be nothing compared to what you're going to be asked when somebody says, okay, you want our troops out of Gaza? Here's what we're going to need. That is a hell of a lot tougher. And what happens to these guys behind closed doors is way tougher than anything that happens in the public. So if you're afraid of us, like I said in this interview, you're not ready to run the country. Now, I guess she has said that she would give an interview before the end of the month. And the reason why the reporter did this story is because they're driving home the point that the end of the month is coming up soon. So who's it going to be?
Well, and the talk is that she was also going to do one with Tim Walz, which is like, wait, you can't do one by yourself?
I mean, come on. You want to show that you're ready to stand up on your own? Don't bring Coach with you.
I know. I mean, it's just a bad move.
And Shawn and I ran into this in 2005 when, as part of our coverage of the Detroit municipal elections, we always do a profile of each of the candidates. I covered Kilpatrick. I told you to get that bell ready. And I was going to do a profile of Kilpatrick, so I needed to sit down and talk to him. They were like, no, we won't do an interview with Aldrich. No way, no how. And I was like, listen, guys, you should tell them to pound sand, because sources do not dictate how we assign stories.
Yeah,
if the Free Press says
I got to tell
you,
they do now. I mean, there's so many places to be interviewed and do it. It just isn't that part of the problem. They can decide where and who they want to go to.
They can cherry pick, yeah. And so here's where I'm going with this. So the at that time, Shawn was working on the Metro desk, and Shawn is an excellent reporter and writer, contrary to what I say 270 other times in this podcast. And so the Free Press said, you know what? We're going to send Shawn Windsor. And I'm like, I love Shawn, but you shouldn't send anybody but me. You should tell them Aldrich or bust. And the Free Press, to my great unhappiness, said, we're going to send somebody else. They were going to send Shawn. I said, well, at least Shawn's going to do a good job. And the Kilpatrick people came back and said, no way.
Really?
And we're like, what is your objection to Shawn? How could you possibly object to Shawn Windsor, who is the most open-minded,
Fair.
considerate person at the Free Press? And he had just done, not too long before that, a massive profile of Steve Wilson. And they're like, if you can write something nice about Steve Wilson, you must not be a good reporter. Do you remember all this, Shawn?
It's coming back to me now. That's funny.
Oh, there's Shawn. Talk about Kilpatrick again.
I remember that Steve Wilson piece. And, you just capture them. You kind of capture them as who they are, right? I went up and did a story on the mayor of Flint, the guy who'd run the chop shop back in the 60s and maybe even done some time and had all, you go up and you see what you see and you talk to people and you're right to your best about who they are. And that's how I tried to do it back before sports, when I was kind of a profile guy and a takeout guy. And, I tried to be fair, but I didn't put my own opinion in the stories. That's the difference, right? But that's a little bit disingenuous too, because your opinion, the way you choose information, the way you go try to talk to people, the way if you're hanging out, I remember hanging out with Williamson was his name. I can't remember his first name. The mayoral candidate in Flint. Yeah.
Owned the car dealership. Patsy owns it now, I think. His widow.
Yeah. And there was all this stuff in the background, which wasn't good, which I put in the story. But I remember sitting at his kitchen table and he stubbed the cigarette out in a bowl of tuna fish.
Yeah.
And I'm just, which says, hey, I'm going to do what I want. I don't give a shit, right? I mean, it really says something. Your biases tell you, should you put that detail in or not? Well, I'm just thinking about painting a picture in a cinematic way. Of course, I'm going to want it in, but so yes, there's no such thing as any piece that we write that's not affected by how we see the world, no matter how objective we try to be. But I do try to be fair.
So, Elric, when they said no to Shawn, then who was their third choice? Did he end up doing a profile?
I think at that point we were getting close to our deadline, and the Free Press just said, screw it. So I think I wrote something that didn't include an interview from the mayor. And at that point, he had
I'm sorry, but did you include in there that he turned down the opportunity to speak to you?
I think we said that he wouldn't meet with the Free Press, but I don't think we went through he asked for Elric, he refused Elric, he refused Windsor, and so we moved on. But this is 2005, so I joined Twitter in 2007, and I think I was an early adopter.
Yeah.
But Kilpatrick kind of did what people do now, is he just took it to the streets. He went around the media. He went to as many churches, as many community groups as he could, and he took his message unfiltered to an audience that didn't know in many cases the full story. And he went around us and he won a razor thin victory. It was a smart strategy. And, anything he said to us was probably going to be a lie, and we were going to point out that it was a lie. So,
and to that point, aren't you surprised that Harris doesn't do an interview with Dak Shepard or the Smartless podcast? They're not, first off, they're not journalists, so they're not going to really hit her hard. And secondly, it'll be a friendly audience.
Well, you guys were talking on the Drew Lane show a little while ago about how Trump is now meeting with influencers.
Yeah, I think that's a smart move.
Well, influencers, particularly if you're trying to reach young voters, influencers are kind of like having the president of the United States do an interview with the education reporter from the Grosse Pointe News.
Or the Wasilla paper.
Yeah, whatever you tell them, they're going to be so awestruck. First of all, it's going to be hard for them to, focus. And second of all, if they say that, I had the largest tax cut in history, they're going to be like,
cool.
I guess you did. I mean, I interviewed Jeff Daniels when I was an intern at the Free Press, and I was not very well prepared, so that was on me. It was at the end of a long day, and he was in a bad mood, and it was so intimidating to me to be interviewing someone of his stature that it was awful. And I'm sure he's like, yeah, well, whatever. But I think if you really want to prove your mettle, you find. So you pick a suitable opponent. If you want to be the best team in the country, you don't play all these Division II schools, have a perfect record, then expect to be crowned number one. You got to play Alabama. You got to play Georgia. I guess you got to play Michigan, but you got to play some big teams. And I think that Kamala Harris has had her time to transition. She's had her time to pick her vice president, to kind of get her sea legs. Now I think initially this talk about she's afraid was contrived, but I think it is now starting to look like something that may be legitimate. And after she got such rave reviews from the Democratic National Convention, it's time to follow up that number one single with a hell of a B-side.
If you can, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. So that was your free plug for the Daily Beast, which I guess is
That's nice of them to ask you, though.
still out there. Yeah, I don't know how they found me. They must have been pretty hard up. But Kilpatrick was in town last week. I didn't cover that. In fact, I was with the Detroit Free Press fake news, or actually our softball team is called Fake Softball. We were at Belle Isle with Come Play Detroit and put together our first ever winning streak, 2 games in a row.
Hey, all right.
So we're on a massive roll, but one of my colleagues got stuck listening to Kilpatrick, and it was...
This is when he spoke to the Oakland County Lincoln dinner.
Republicans. Yeah. And the irony of this is the guy who invited him, Vance Patrick, became politically active because he gathered people to try and stop the closure of the Belle Isle Aquarium, which was closed by, of course, Kwame Kilpatrick. But now he's like, well, you know what? Kilpatrick packs him in, and Ben Carson, while he has a very impressive resume, is not known for his dynamic,
not very engaging
style.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't even know if his volume goes above 3. He always sounds like he's just been somehow given a large dose of Novocaine. But I don't know. It's we've talked on this show before about how Kilpatrick could really help Trump win Michigan. But if all he's going to do is fly back once every month or two to give some big speech to a bunch of people who are already going to vote for Trump.
You don't think he's living? You don't think he's here? He's living here full time?
Oh, I think he is, and certainly the feds do.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen him on the stump. I haven't seen him knocking doors or going to churches for Trump. So I have a feeling that President Trump is feeling like, hey, I let this guy out of prison. What's he doing?
Yeah.
And unless he's getting paid, he ain't really.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you. Does he get paid for speaking at that Lincoln dinner?
I suspect that he does, and because it is a political event, we should be able to check a campaign finance report to see how much he was paid. That dinner that he went to that I attended was in kind of a gray area, so I think the expenses and everything related to that are going to be very hard to track down, if not impossible to track down. But yeah, I don't think that's what I mean about Kilpatrick. It's all transactional. You know, if you want him to hit the street for you, you better put him on the pad, because otherwise it's like, hey, thanks for getting me out of prison, but I got shit to do that pays.
I just feel like he is always lying and is full of shit. And Paul Egan
He's the Connor Stalions of former Detroit mayors.
Well, Connor didn't lie. He just broke a rule that didn't mean anything.
Well, he said he wasn't on the sideline, but he told Dave Portnoy apparently he was.
Oh, maybe Portnoy's lying.
Oh. Okay. Yes, we could all be crazy. Connor's the one sane one.
Last thing I want to say about that was my only exception, because I like Tony Paul, and Tony Paul's in the documentary, and he points out, he goes, this is a very serious story, but there's a lot of silly things to it. And I'm like, no. This is a very silly story. I thought the whole Connor Stalions thing was a very, very silly story. I don't think it was that important at all, because the rule's not that big of a deal in my mind. Anyway.
Well,
as a Michigan fan, you didn't think it was important.
Did you think that was a big rule break?
I thought it was a big deal, a big story, for sure.
No, the story's huge. It's a big story. It's a fun story, and we were living it in real time.
But it was a big
still think it was a silly story.
To a lot of people, it goes against the core. It's like, I don't know, point shaving or whatever, right? It goes against the core of the spirit of competitive sports. That's what people thought. You know, whether you think that now or not, that's different. But
it's also not the truth.
No, but that's why it was such a big story, because that's what people, especially if they didn't study much of it, they just heard bits and pieces or saw headlines or sound bites. They thought that it was, maybe not quite point shaming, but they thought that it went to the heart of what competitive sports are all about.
Well,
That's why it was huge.
Look, Michigan was a monster last year, okay? After the Connor Stalions stuff.
The year before.
Well,
and you guys beat us, one of them.
The year before, the sign stealing really helped. But the Michigan, the Connor Stalions less Michigan Wolverines, the Jim Harbaugh less Michigan Wolverines stomped everybody. They had a close scare with Alabama. I think Georgia might have beat them, but they didn't get in the game, so that doesn't count. It doesn't matter. You have to beat the team that comes out of the other locker room, and don't beat them as they're trying to get into their locker room. That's apparently wrong. But Washington, if Penix had kept his cool, I think they were going to beat Michigan. But Michigan won those games. You can't take that away from them. But here's the thing. And you talk about subtleties, Mark. This to me doesn't feel like a subtlety, but somehow you're not able to grasp it. Michigan talks about being the leaders of the best. Jim Harbaugh, we do things the right way, but the truth is you don't.
Oh, that's right.
You won with the best team. No, you tried not to.
Oh, because one rogue guy?
No, because you had players who should have been suspended. Mozzie Smith should have been suspended.
Yeah, but if you were the coach.
If Mel Tucker was the coach, Mel Tucker suspended those Spartans immediately after they were found to be involved in some transgression.
We've talked about this so much, and it's like that. I never thought, I would never think any university or much less any athletic program is perfect.
Nobody's saying that's perfect, but the Michigan projection,
it's a marketing point.
Trash that you guys put on the
Spartans will. It's just a marketing thing.
But Spartans will. Spartans do things, but we don't say we do it better than anybody else. We don't say we do it perfectly. Michigan does. This put a stain on that piss color maze that you guys have. You just can't see the stain because when people are pissing on the big blocks M, it's already piss colored. But for everybody who is not in the cult, this is something we're like, oh yeah, Michigan, yeah, the leaders in the best, right.
Do you remember the story heading into the TCU into the semifinals 2 years ago into that playoff game, almost 2 years ago?
Which story?
About this taking a look back. It wasn't the story at the time, but taking a look back, that it was so well known among some folks that Michigan tried to steal your signs. The TCU spent that month in preparation, trying to make sure that they couldn't.
Because Ohio State told them
that actually hurt Michigan. I remember when that happened.
Sure,
when that
bit them in the ass. Yeah,
but the talent, they were so talented last year that it didn't matter, right? So plus they hadn't been busted at that point leading into the TCU. So maybe it actually worked against Michigan that the other school knew what they were trying to do. They didn't put fake signs in and all that and try to throw them off. Where that wasn't an issue at all going up against Alabama or Washington or, for that matter, Ohio State or Penn State. So,
but we're not debating that sign stealing helps, right? We're debating that everybody does it. Isn't that your position, Mark?
Well, I think it's pretty well. And that was the other big bombshell. There were not that many big bombshells in the Stallions doc, but, Wetzel just puts it out there, who, by the way, was a guest on the show last week, just puts it out there that he FOIA'd, Freedom of Information request out to other universities and their known sign stealers that they have on their staff, other support staff, and whether or not they bought tickets to their schools that were not, games that wasn't their school. The school was not involved in. Jesus, if I could only speak. And he seems to find out that, this is a thing. This is a thing that other people were doing as well.
Right, but people wouldn't do it if it didn't help.
Sure.
So
in-game scouting it's not allowed. The reason it's not allowed is because a lot of schools can't afford to pay for it. They looked at it in the early 90s.
But just so I understand your position on this, you're not saying that sign stealing doesn't help you. You're saying that don't come down on Michigan because everybody does it. We just did it too, in a way that may be against the rules. Is that fair?
Well, yeah, no, look, they wouldn't do it. Every school wouldn't try to decipher signs if it didn't help. The question is, how much does it help? Now, the NCAA felt it doesn't help that much. That's why it's not illegal. And that's, the Stallions rule now that you can have the radio and the helmet. But the NCAA looked at it a few years ago and said, not that big of a help, but enough that they do it. And I do think Stallions, because he is I don't know if it's spectrum-y or savant-like to where he just had this system. He's super, well, you know what? Maybe it's probably the military background in him. This unbelievably organized system to do it, right? So he broke a rule that other people, it's alleged that other schools have broken as well, the in-game scouting. He just got busted because, well, for one reason, he left his Venmo public. And that's another interesting part of the documentary is how, these sports bloggers and whatnot really did a lot of the work to find out that, oh, this person was here, this person was there. I don't know. It's a fun documentary. If you don't like Connor Stalions to begin with, or you think that Michigan's the worst and he cheated, it's going to confirm that bias. If you don't think it's that big a deal, it's going to confirm that bias.
Well, I think he's a fascinating character. I do think he's an attention whore. But I think Shawn raises a good point. And how much of a difference does sign stealing make? Well, the TCU game may be the proof of that. When the game is that close, when the teams are that evenly matched, but a small difference can make a big difference because you are, at that point, 4 of the best teams in the country, right?
But that's the opposite. That really bit him in the ass because TCU changed their signals without Michigan knowing. So it took
exactly. So that worked. No,
it worked against them.
About that, right?
Yeah,
that worked against Michigan. You're saying, or it worked against TCU?
It worked against Michigan because Ohio State told TCU that they steal signals, change your signals, and Michigan didn't catch on that they had the wrong signals until the game was not totally out of hand, but they were playing from well behind.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm saying that.
But other people like to point out too that clip of Stalions on the sideline when I think it's C.J. Stroud has got the Buckeyes on there, and you see everybody point to the sky that it's gonna be a pass. It's gonna be a pass because they stole the signal. No one ever points out that Ohio State scored a touchdown on that play. So yeah, they knew the sign, but how well did it help?
I guess it depends on, did you get it in early enough for people to just
they had
play
it in.
and
They
stuff?
got it in pretty damn quick because Stalions was incredibly psychotically organized. I think
Or
another
it could be that CJ Stroud is just incredibly psychotically good as he was as a rookie and potential MVP candidate as a rookie.
No doubt.
I mean, at some point you can have an edge, but the other guy's just that good that edge is not going to make a big difference. But I'm going to watch it. I'm curious to know more about Stalions. I've been scratching around a little bit on him, and something ain't right about that guy. Something just ain't right.
I kind of, the other story that really illustrates that, ML, is did you read the story in the New York Times or The Athletic about his hiring, and I'm going to put that in air quotes, at Berkeley High School?
No, but he's at Mumford High School now, right? In Detroit.
He is a volunteer at Mumford High School. But back in, I had heard a rumor, maybe because I live in Berkeley, but I heard a rumor that they had hired him in March. And it's one of those things where the coach wanted him. He clears a background check. He starts helping out with the team. Players, by all accounts, like him. Parents of players even like him. But the superintendent is like, you're not officially hired. Okay. So it's which I think is kind of bullshit. Is he never supposed to work again? But instead of kind of pushing back on it, he fires up really lengthy emails back and forth to the point where he's like, well, I'm in the computer system, says I'm hired, so I'm going to keep coaching. And they're like, you are not an employee of the Berkeley school system. You never have been. Do not show up. He's like, I'll be a volunteer then, and shows up. So he just creates a mess because there's this really weird gray area. I thought that was a fascinating story. Then again, I'm fascinated by everything.
I had not heard that, but I am impressed that the superintendent of the Berkeley Public Schools is more concerned about the reputation of his academic institution than the president, the athletic director, and the head football coach the University of Michigan.
I'm fascinated by this. So you don't think he should be hired as a football coach?
I wouldn't want a cheater on my sideline. No, I wouldn't. And what has he done as a football coach that's so great? He stole some signs. That doesn't tell me he knows anything about X's and O's. Yeah.
That absolutely means he knows something about X's and O's. Shawn, help me out here. Does that mean he knows anything about X's and O's?
Yeah, he does. But, I mean, the fact that he can figure that out, although on the other hand, you could line up, okay, when we see this on the opposite sideline and they're in this set, in this formation, and they're going to run this. So Yeah, that does suggest a sort of a rudimentary, not rudimentary, that's not the right word, a fundamental understanding of football X's and O's. But can you then design them and call them in real time on your own? I don't know. Who knows?
I mean, get people to execute, because I heard on this show last week, Dan Wetzel and Marc Fellhauer saying stealing signs ain't that tricky.
Sure.
So I'm not going to put him in Mensa because he was able to steal signs.
They had an example of that, and one of them was this, which is an open palm extended out to left, which means 5 wide. I mean, and then another one was the trips formation was a 3 up like that. It's like, that's not the hardest signals in the world. But he was at Navy for 4 years. He was involved in the Michigan program for 5. 3 as a paid. I mean, the guy's been around major college football. You're Berkeley. You haven't won a football game in 2 years. You're Mumford. You've won 1 in each of the past 2 years. Why not hire him?
Because he's a cheater. That's why. Because you're trying, and you guys don't care about this, but you're trying to teach young people to work with integrity.
Would you hire a traffic cop if he had a speeding ticket?
Would I hire a traffic cop if he had a speeding ticket?
He broke the law.
I would not fire a traffic cop who got a speeding ticket, or not hire one who got a speeding ticket unless his job was to speed. That's the difference. Connor Stalions' job was to steal signs. It wasn't to enforce traffic laws.
Well, it wasn't.
Connor Stalions,
speeding's illegal, though. Stealing signs isn't.
If Connor Stalions' job, was to fold towels, give massages, run plays to the sideline, carry the headset, make sure the coach doesn't trip over the cable, and then he stole sign once, I'd give him a break. But his job was to cheat. It wasn't like he had a job and he cheated once.
This is the nuance that I think you're off on. His job was to steal signs, which is not illegal. It's how he did it that other people presumably didn't know about that got him in trouble.
Well, then maybe we need to come up with a better verb, because when I hear steal, I think crook.
Okay. In-game scouting is really what was the rule that was broken.
Okay, I wouldn't hire him.
Okay.
Sorry. Believe me, I would not hire this guy.
Oh, man, the geeks have inherited the earth.
Did I do that?
What a dork.
Does him wanting to play with us again mean that he's turning into a geek, or we're turning into cool guys?
We're going to get to another issue with police in just a minute. But listen, I heard from the best of celebrities that if Donald Trump wins in November, it's the end of our nation.
That's right.
Then I heard from some other people, if Kamala Harris wins in November, it's the end of our nation.
That's right.
Since it appears that you may be screwed either way, why
I
not
love
ask
this copy.
Luke
This
Nowacki?
copy is so great.
Well, Luke really gets it. I mean, he hits a nail on the head.
The sky is always falling.
This is an inflection point. Listen, every election is important, okay? It does chart the course of our country, but it probably isn't going to be the apocalypse if the other guy wins. Yeah. And you know how I know that's true?
How?
Because Trump did win and the world didn't end. And then Biden did win and the world didn't end.
That's right.
But anyways, we're getting way off. Suffice to say, Luke knows what he's talking about. So since it appears that we may be screwed either way, why not ask Luke Nowacki for help managing your investment portfolio as the country implodes like the last days of Rome? What do you have to lose? You can't lose more than 100%. So when you call Luke, make sure that he makes it all about you, sweetheart.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc. member FINRA-SIPC.
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc. is separately owned, and other entities and/or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent.
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc.
So our Geek of the Week, this is, Marc, you're talking about somebody speeding. This is classic. This is absolutely classic. This is written by Darcy Moran of the Detroit Free Press. This Detroit man rear-ended a police patrol car a week or so ago because he was eating chicken wings. Not the cop, but the driver. This 73-year-old man was attempting to eat wings while driving at about 3:15 southbound on the John C. Lodge Freeway, the service drive on West Grand Boulevard. And the trooper was stopped at the left center lane for a red light. And the man, who was on the service drive, was apparently so engrossed in these wings that he hit the cops.
Whoa.
Now, no one was injured and there was minor damage, but the driver did get a citation, which I would say is probably getting off pretty easy, because when you rear end a cop while you're eating chicken wings, that's distracted driving, probably worse than being on your cell. So listen, put down the wings, 10 and 2 on the wheel, please, sir. You got a ticket, but we gave you a citation. You're a Geek of the Week.
If there's an all-night party in room 7609, and you can dance together all night if you've got the time.
If you're watching us on Patreon, you're going to see me, or on YouTube, which you get to do as a Patreon subscriber, you're going to see me put on some glasses. Now, I had LASIK done 17 years ago. Gave me better than perfect vision. I see 2015, which is great. Fantastic. But when you get into your 50s, sometimes you need a little help reading. And Dr. Yaldo offers services like multifocal lens implants, all kinds of things to help you see better. Whether you're young, whether you're old, he can help you see better than perfect. And you can get rid of those glasses, those contacts, all those yucky things that are ancient technologies. Dr. Yaldo, in a relatively painless procedure, can give you perfect vision. Again, to find out more about Dr. Y, go to yaldoeyecenter.com. You can find out how to go there on our website too. That's mlsoulofdetroit.com. There'll be a link to his website on our website. So check that out. And this weekend, if you're looking for something fun to do, you know the Caju Cafe.
Love them.
Always has something. Feather bowling, great food. Kitchen's open late. Monday is Muscle Madness. All you can eat mussels. Wednesday is karaoke. Well, this weekend, Labor Day weekend, is the Muscle Beach Music Festival. It starts on Thursday. That's August 29th. It runs through Monday, September 1st. September 1st, if you're in town for Labor Day, Eastside Elvis, the Motor City Music Mafia, the Mugs.
Oh, the Mugs. I haven't heard of the Mugs in a long time.
Neither. When I looked at it, I was like, okay. So that's
still around.
That's a big, big gig. And the headliner is going to be Super Crunch, which if you like the Grateful Dead, as many people do, they will be playing on Labor Day. Great shows throughout the weekend. Go to cajucafe.com for the full lineup, and you can get a link to their website, again, on our website, which is mlsoulofdetroit.com. So check out the Caju for this fantastic annual music festival. It's just a great time on the east side, but you can come from the west side, you come wherever you want. They welcome everyone.
Speaking of music for room 7609, I was like, hey, does anybody have a song today? And Shawn replied, of course, with 2 songs. Neither of which are going to play because we've lost him now. We've lost Shawn. There he's not.
No, look at that.
He's not there anymore. He's just totally disappeared because he's lost his power because of these nasty storms coming through today on Tuesday.
Oh, damn. Was that the infinity fade there? He just kind of into oblivion. Wow. Okay. Well, Shawn, so we've been doing this.
It's a good song.
We've been doing this for 5 years.
But he doesn't get it.
And it's always, he never comes up with it. He doesn't like anything. But he doesn't come up with anything. So today, Marc is like, okay, what do we... He comes up with 2 songs.
Yes.
Look of Love by ABC. And
which is a ridiculous video.
Tender, Be My Love by the Bee Gees. Now, here's the problem. Shawn still doesn't get it.
He never will.
These people know these songs. Now, maybe Tender, Be My Love. I don't know that one by the Bee Gees. But we've changed it from new wave music, and ABC is new wave. But the idea is always give us a song we don't know or give us a great story about the song. Shawn gave us ABC's song is great. I don't know about the Bee Gees tune, but I'm cool with the Bee Gees. And of course, it probably has groove, so Shawn's happy about that. But he gave us no story. So we turned to listener Todd, who says, Soul of Detroit hit it out of the park again. Weekday with Bernie was incredibly good. That was our episode a couple weeks ago. And if you want even more Bernie, you can hear our bonus episode with Bernie just by becoming a Patreon subscriber for $5 a month. Todd says, the show is a celebration of Detroit's rich media history, which you all play a big part in. My nomination for Room 7609 is Mouth Breather by the Jesus Lizard. Jesus Lizard formed in 1987 in Austin, Texas, and I wish Shawn was here.
I know this is where it connects to them, too.
Exactly.
Because they're a derivative of scratch acid.
It's coming.
Yeah,
the band takes its name from a type of lizard known for its ability to run on water. I actually saw one of these in Costa Rica. They're pretty cool. Jesus Lizard, fronted by lead singer David Yao, who previously led the Shawn Windsor-endorsed Scratch Acid. If selected, this nomination would mark David Yao's second appearance in Room 7609. So here's David Yao and the Jesus Lizard with Mouth Breather, and we'll tell you a little bit more about it on the backside. And we'll maybe even have Shawn back, who is, I think, a mouth breather. Maybe even a lizard.
Just fine, but he's a mouth breather. Don't get me wrong, he's a nice guy, I like him just fine, but he's a mouth breather.
Well, that was a sonic bonbon, a little.
That was a lot.
A little assault on the eardrum, I guess.
And the false ending scared the shit out of me, too.
Oh, the one in the middle?
Yeah, I was like, ah!
Yeah, it's like when he changed guitars and everybody in the band changed everything. So that's a Mouth Breather by the Jesus Lizard. I don't know why I thought that was going to be an elegant, dainty little ditty, but yeah. Todd says Mouth Breather appears on the second studio album, Goat, which was released in 1991, and it was produced by Steve Albini.
Oh, it was?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Who's Steve Albini?
Legendary producers. Okay. Worked with Nirvana. He's worked with a ton. He just died recently, and Albini is really known for not taking royalties because he doesn't think producers and engineers should really be taking as much royalty as they do. They should just be paid a flat fee, which I thought was kind of interesting. But yeah, he's a legendary punk and rock producer.
That's pretty good. Although I would argue that George Martin did seem to help the Beatles quite a bit. But
I just think he meant residuals over time.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Somebody in the recording industry who's not a greedy pig. Wow, it's kind of cool to meet that one guy.
I believe he was also a professional gambler, so maybe he didn't need the money. But yeah, he just passed away this spring in May, I believe.
Well, he must have been a successful gambler then. So Todd says Jesus Lizard has a Michigan and Shawn Windsor connection with its one-time drummer Jim Kimball. Room 7609 would know Jim Kimball's work with his previous appearance in Room 7609 with his band, the Laughing Hyenas.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a lot of DNA in this.
Pretty crazy, yeah.
It's like Monica Lewinsky's dress. As the audience may recall, Shawn explained Jim Kimball's departure from the Laughing Hyenas when Shawn's bestie P.W. Long poached Jim Kimball and the guy with the Amish beard to form Mule. I was fortunate to be in the audience of Jesus Lizard's 1990 Ann Arbor performance at Club Heidelberg.
Oh, really? The Heidelberg? Oh, wow.
Legendary. For those of you that don't know, and here it comes, Club Heidelberg was a small and intimate place to see bands perform. The audience stood in a tight area with limited floor space in front of a relatively low stage. During one of his songs, David Yao threw himself off the stage and onto the floor. On his back, he then began to worm and sing his way across the floor in my direction. The crowd, including myself, backed up to give him room to move. I backed up as far as I could, and then Mr. Yao maneuvered his way between my legs.
Ew.
While I stood, I guess why he's calling Mr. Yao. They've had a moment. While I stood on the floor. So I am now standing there looking down at Mr. Yao, who is on the floor staring up at me between my legs, yelling and pleading several times, "Come on, man. Do me." Are you sure this wasn't the Necto? It was quite some time ago, and if my memory serves me correctly, I didn't end up doing him. I must admit, it sounds like the beginning of an incredible love story. Please have Preston Cleveland, P.W. Long, on the show. Until next Tuesday, Todd. That's pretty good.
Would you like to hear even more weird connections that I just read about?
By all means.
So Jim Kimball, right? The drummer?
He was the one they named Kimball School after?
No.
No, okay.
I'm Detective John Kimball.
No, Jim Kimball,
Jim Kimball.
Was in part of the Laughing Hyenas. His brother was the diver, Bruce Kimball.
Oh, Bruce Kimball.
Yes. Yeah. Who finished second to Greg Louganis in diving, then had a little vehicular homicide. It's crazy. Vehicular homicide.
As I recall, it was a couple beers when you have 0% body fat goes a long way.
Yeah, you remember the story. And now he is the swimming and diving coach at New Trier High School in Winnetka, Illinois, where Drew went to school.
And where?
And where what?
Peyton Thorne, the great quarterback from Michigan State.
Peyton Thorne is from Winnetka?
No, I think we went to New Trier. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I think that's right.
That's so weird.
Yeah. And I bet he wouldn't hire Connor Stalions.
And what does it all mean? Absolutely nothing.
I guess New Trier doesn't.
Really, I can't believe you think that Connor Stalions should never work in football again.
I didn't say he should never work again. I'm just saying
in football,
I wouldn't hire him. That's all. I have a little higher standard.
Even if the players, like for instance at Berkeley High, the players and the parents all liked him.
You know what? I think the players and the parents who played hockey and softball for me all liked me. We didn't win a lot of games. You know, we built a lot of character. In fact, we built so much character. I wish we'd built less character and won more games. I don't think anybody was looking to hire me. Doesn't mean that the man shouldn't work again. I just don't know what he's done in football to recommend him as a good coach. I know he can come up with some schemes, and I know that he can put on a fake Groucho mask, and I know that he can do all kinds of shifty, shady shit that you tell me isn't illegal, and some that probably is. But yeah, I'm not looking to put that guy in my. The other reason why is because I'm not looking to have somebody say, "Hey, we want to write about the Berkeley football team. We don't care about any of the kids or the coaches or anything like that. We just want to talk about this one screwhead." Who, by the way, can't keep his head down when he probably should. So, yeah, no, I think
he's kept his head down until the documentary dropped. He didn't talk to anybody.
I think he's shown enough.
I cannot believe he went to the Michigan-Ohio State game last year in the crowd and then rushed the field. He's wacky.
Well, I'll give him credit for having a big pair of stones. But yeah, no, I'm not looking to hire that dude. Sorry. Just not my thing. But I do want to thank some people who, if I was hiring, I would hire them because they understand the importance of being on a team and supporting that team. That's Den P and Kevin Tucker, who are the newest members of the Soul Patrol.
Oh, Tucker? Kevin Tucker? All right.
And not only is Kevin a member of the Soul Patrol now, but he and I are going to go see Morrissey in Flint.
Really?
Later on this year, assuming Morrissey actually
sounds like a hot
shows
date.
up. It's not as hot as Todd and Mr. Yao. And ain't nobody doing nobody.
Yet. What?
We will be, like Morrissey, asexual throughout the whole. We will be celibate on that evening, but we will have a good time. We may eat some meat, not that kind, and not that there's anything wrong with it, and we'll probably drink a few alcoholic beverages, but not before we drive home. So thank you for joining the Soul Patrol. When you support this show, you help bring us back because, you know, it sounds like we have a lot of sponsors and we're fortunate to have a few really hardcore sponsors who stay with us thick and thin. But we have a few who are just here for the summer who are getting a pretty good deal. And they're going to be gone soon. So we really rely on you to be a member of this show. $5 a month gets you all kinds of great benefits. The show early, get to watch the show. $15, you get to watch the bonus episodes. For $25 a month, you get some cool swag. For $60 a month, no one's done that yet, you'll get some very exclusive Soul of Detroit wearables. And we look forward to outfitting you to the manner to which you hope to be accustomed, but you just got to give us a pretty hefty sum, which, you can do it. Just, don't steal signs, steal coins from those cups. It's
legal to steal signs.
Take a penny, leave a penny. Yeah, do whatever. Just take the pennies. You don't have to leave one. It's just advice. So we would love it if you could join us. You can find out how to become a member of our Patreon posse by going to mlsoulofdetroit.com. And of course, Mark, there's still that way to support us with a one-time donation.
That's right, yeah. At mlsoulofdetroit.com. Venmo, PayPal, mail us the letter with money in it. I don't know.
It's that easy?
Yeah, it is super. Well, the mailing of money is not so easy.
See, I'm skeptical. I hope someone will prove to me that it is that easy to give us money by giving us...
I don't know, try it. Venmo or PayPal, everybody.
By giving us money, yeah. So prove Mark's point, except for that stealing thing, by giving us some dough. We have a little feedback, unless I've misplaced it. We love to hear from you, and we love your suggestions for Room 7609. Please send them to mlsoulofdetroit@gmail.com. DJ Weiser says, "Hey, ML Mafia and crew, how are you? I can't wait to get my merch," and it did finally arrive, so thanks for ordering. I feel like I fail on my last song pick, which was Extreme Beautiful Girls. Sorry, Van Halen talk went to the extreme. Shawn, first song was Toasters, Talk is Cheap. Everyone liked it, besides you. Great show with Bernie. What a cool dude. I am with last feedback. He's catching up. Drew does need to get Eli, Stoney, and Bernie to do a sports show on the network. Please leave Bob Page on the golf course.
Pager.
Okay. And if you ever follow Bob, he's very active on Twitter.
Oh, yeah, he is.
Not shy with his opinions.
No.
And he says, of course, have Shawn come on as a guest since he podfades on his podcast.
He podfaded on today's show because he has no power.
Yeah.
I'm definitely scared we're going to lose power here.
Oh, shit. My house is hot as hell no matter what. I'm just going to be miserable. Anyways, DJ Weiser says, as always, keep up all the good work. Cheers, DJ Weiser. So please send us your feedback. And if you're looking for a good time, I deal with a lot of people in Detroit who like to play games. But if you really want to play... I got to fix this with me. There's no better way than come play Detroit. Mr. Yao. Come play Detroit is my choice for softball and volleyball, but they offer a wide range of sports and they play all year round. You can go as an individual, with a group of people, or with a team. They have one-day tournaments and seasons that last 8 to 10 weeks. You can sign up at comeplaydetroit.com. And if you know me, you know I like a good deal. Go to comeplaydetroit.com and use promo code SOUL to get 10% off your first registration. It's a great way to get in the game and to support the show. And if you're looking for another good time where you can save a little dough, make sure to take advantage of summer and book your tour on Detroit's favorite party bike, the Michigan Peddler. 15 people can enjoy 2 hours touring and pedaling through Corktown, Midtown, and downtown, stopping for pictures and perhaps a cold bevy or two. The Michigan Peddler offers the longest tours in Detroit with seat backs so you're comfortable and the friendliest staff to make your experience one to remember. Book your tour at MichiganPeddler.com. That's Michigan, PEDLER.com. And exclusively for ML Soul of Detroit listeners, you can get $40 off your 15-person ride if you enter promo code MLSOUL and the promo code area. You'll get $40 off the price of one of their 15-passenger party bike tours. So it's a great way to have a good time with your friends and to support the show. Michigan Peddler, we appreciate your support. And Mark, I think Shawn's out.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time for us to get out before Drew...
Before we lose power here.
Comes down. Oh,
yeah,
shit.
That's what I worry about.
So we appreciate you guys listening. Sorry we're posting a little late this week. We hope to be up early next Tuesday as usual. Mm-hmm. But thanks for coming back. Please let us know what's on your mind. Give us your feedback at mlsoulofdetroit@gmail.com to find out more about our promo codes and our advertisers, our sponsors. Go to mlsoulofdetroit.com where you can also become a sponsor by joining our Patreon supporter posse. Do you like supporter posse? Patreon posse better than Soul
Patreon.
Patrol?
Yeah, by far.
Patreon.
I like
Plus.
the ML Mafia, though. That's pretty cool.
The ML Mafia is pretty good, too. I don't know. It sounds a little scary, though.
Exactly.
The only person I think I would probably...
Is this a Stallions joke you're working on?
No. I was going to say...
Your head?
I was going to say if...
It's totally a Stallions joke.
No, it's not. It's not. There's you're thinking. I'm just thinking like maybe Shawn, but actually I like Shawn. So it's even if Kwame Kilpatrick didn't.
Yeah, you can't like that. That says something about Kwame Kilpatrick's character if he did not like Shawn Windsor.
Well, because he did the
hashtag Team Shawn.
Because he did the Steve Wilson profile. I mean, they're just so paranoid. They thought
that is the ultimate paranoia.
Yeah, if you weren't if you weren't on Team Kilpatrick, which you may remember from those big silly varsity jackets they had, then
I don't remember that they did.
You don't?
No.
Oh God! And yeah,
Team Kilpatrick jackets.
Yeah. So back when I think this was after Kilpatrick won a second term, and it was when the text message things were coming out. They went and got varsity jackets from Harper Sports in St. Clair Shores. They were green with big K's on the front, so there could be Team Kilpatrick. And I think they had yellow trim because he went to Cass Tech, whose colors are green and gold. And so, yeah, they would show up at places and things wearing their Team Kilpatrick varsity jackets.
Oh, my God, how silly.
Yeah. Actually, maybe it was
Juvenile.
during the re-election camp. No, it definitely happened when I was at Channel 4 because I think I tried to buy one and they were all sold out or something. So.
I can't even find a picture of it online. How dumb.
Oh, well, we'll find one. We'll find one. We'll have it for you. But until next week.
Yeah.
Cyrus, take us out. But not in an ML Mafia way.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
The Petri Wine Company of San Francisco, California, invites you to tune in again next week, same time, same station. The casebook of
Kamala Harris
comes to you from our
Ferndale
studio. This is
Marc Fowler
saying good night for the
soul of Detroit.